Ardra is Mendora in the Barusian cluster, Torak to the Drellians, and the Klingons call her Feklar. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today, you guessed it, we are doing Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 4, Episode 13, Devil's Due. Story by Philip Lezebnik and William Douglas Lansford. Teleplay by Philip Lezebnik. Directed by Tom Benko. This was this Groundhog Day, I think? February 2nd, 1991. Where were you? How you doing today, Sirach?
Doing well. Doing well. And I do not know where I was on February 2nd.
Yeah, but we're starting to talk, like when we start saying things like 91, we're starting to actually talk about times that we know well.
Right.
You remember the songs that were out at that time. You remember where you were in school, your friends, what you did. I mean,
yeah.
91, I mean, as evidenced by this hair here and Ardra's hair. Everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. If you're listening in on a podcast, just give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. And we'd also appreciate it if you go to patreon.com/the7th rule and become a patron. You'll be glad you did, and so will we. All right, so Sirach Lofton, this is the time of day where we say, you've never seen this episode or any of The Next Generation, so this is all very exciting for us. What did you think of this episode upon your first viewing?
Well, I can say that overall I thought it was a very good episode. I started right from the open, with Data playing this character, Ebenezer Scrooge character. That gave me a delight. It was a nice, delightful open to watch him go through the motions of trying to feel emotions by acting them out. I thought that was just
interesting.
Just a classic and interesting idea in general. What a clever thought that somebody expanded upon in that particular scene. And it made me think of that, like, it brought to mind for me the art imitates life, life imitating art quotation that we've heard in the past. It made me think of if Data does this art form pretending to have feelings, will he be able to essentially imitate it in a way in which feels authentic to him? So I love that conversation he has with Picard in the open. So right away I was kind of intrigued about, what is this? Is intellectual writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also it gives us that slice of life that we really loved about Deep Space Nine. That's one of my favorite things about Deep Space Nine, was that with every episode, almost, we got the little 2-minute slice of life. Chief O'Brien and, Major Kira are talking about their favorite dish with Quark, and we find out a little bit more about them before the emergency happens. They get called away. I always think that's so great. And Next Generation hardly does it in the first half of its run. It did it a couple times where it wasn't really relevant and it was kind of weird, like Picard playing with this globe or something like that. But this time it did kind of fit in because it's showing that Data has no emotions, which is perfect because later on we're supposed to be convinced that he's a great arbiter because he shows no bias. But I did think it was nice that he warned Picard and said, I can't promise I'll rule in your favor, which shows his honesty and integrity. But also, even before that opens up and you hear the music, and the music is ominous. It's anticipatory. It's kind of like you can immediately tell that they're going to go into something kind of darkish just from the music. It builds up the tension. So right away, you know what's going on. They do that really well. When they do that, it works.
Yeah. Also gives me a little bit of the captain keeping tabs on his crew. When Captain Picard walks in and he's like, "Oh, okay, that was much better, and you're doing well," and kind of like it's a reassuredness of like I'm vested interest in you and seeing your development. I want to see you succeed, and so I'm encouraging and I'm applauding, and I think those are ways in which that the writers, like I've pointed out in the past, have layered the background of their captain to elevate him as far as character wise, showing that he has these kinds of compassion, empathy, those things. And in this particular case, I guess reason and logic, and using those as his guiding forces in his decision making. I think is a way to expand on a captain to make him look full, to make him look righteous, to make him look well balanced and informed and non emotional. All of those things I thought are expressed in this particular episode.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a very quintessential Next Generation episode, not because it's like the best, but because it just feels very Next Generation. They run into a race that has a problem. It's a mystery. They need to solve it. Picard has to be the diplomat. Picard is definitely the diplomat more so than the fighter or whatever else. He's the diplomat. And this is one of the first episodes I remember seeing back in the day in syndication. And it really is etched in my brain. I probably saw it twice, but it's the one where, like, when I saw the title Devil's Due, I knew immediately which one it was. And it definitely left an impression on me way back then because of the theme that it displays, which is a theme we've seen before in science fiction, of and basically, could be in reality, which is if you're visited from, future people or more civilized people or more technological people, you think it's magic. You think it's witchcraft. You think it's a god. You create a mythology around it. Like all kinds of things like that. Obviously, if these people from 1,000 years ago are visited by an alien with magic powers or visited now with magic powers to them, they think it's a god. They think it's a devil. They think it's a demon. They think it's a magician, whatever it is. They build an entire mythology around it. But all it is just superior technology. And this is something we've seen in tons of different sci-fi shows, including other Star Trek episodes, but it's a common theme.
Yeah, it is a common theme, and it's well done in this particular case.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk about Twilight Zone. They take these same kind of themes and apply them to a situation, whatever that situation is going to be, and let you kind of go through the motions of feeling some type of way about it emotionally as you watch the thing unfold. So this felt very Twilight Zoney to me in that way.
I thought you might. Yeah.
Yeah, right away I was like, "Oh, this is a good like Twilight Zone type episode." I thought of you too when I saw the courtroom scenes, and I was like, "Does he? I don't think he likes courtroom scenes that
I thought
much."
of Melinda Snodgrass. I was like, this has a very strong feel of Melinda Snodgrass, but there was a lot of humor in it too. So it was like if Melinda Snodgrass partnered up with somebody that had a little bit of a lighter writing style, more so than
Yeah,
like really going into the depths of humanity.
yeah. There was humor there. A lot of back and forth play with Data and Picard. I like the way that they were exchanging, their back and forths. There were some eye looks. I think Data says, "So please sit down." Like
Yeah.
he's son Picard there for a minute, like I'm the boss right now, and I need you to sit down. That was kind of funny to me. So yeah, this episode had a little bit of levity, had a little bit of seriousness. It had a blend to me. And I also want to say that the pace and the shots that were being taken by this director, who I hadn't seen before, Tom Benko.
Yeah, me neither.
Um, I haven't seen him before, and it felt like he made some choices that were different than ones that I had seen in the past. Just I can't explain which exact shots there were, but there were certain instances where I felt like he was taking a little bit more risk. He was playing with a little bit more color. It felt like in this episode, some of the lighting choices felt like the color was more colorful, um, and less kind of just yellow or white light spectrum, but some kind of color filters on it. So there were certain things like that that felt like there was um, different feel to it. Even the shuttle pod scene where Picard and Data are in that little shuttle pod, and the way it was filmed made it feel different than I had seen it before in the past. I was like, oh, what they got a new shuttle pod, or is it? It's just the same one. It just felt different the way the angular shots that he took, or whatever it was.
No, that's
So I don't know if you
interesting.
felt the same.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of interesting points. The first of which is, him as a director. He only directed 2 episodes. I just looked him up. It turns out this is his second one. The first one was at the end of season 3, Transfigurations. So that was his first. This is his second, but he has been on Star Trek a bunch working on it. He's an editor by trade, and he edited 40 episodes of Next Generation, 16 of Deep Space Nine, and 57 of Voyager. So that's kind of his interesting background there. There were some things that I noticed that seemed very obvious. Sometimes a director does something where you're like, it's obvious because it's the correct move, but for some reason it's delivered in an obvious way. And for example, when we're looking up at Ardra to try to make her seem more ominous, and I don't know why. Usually it works, but this time for me, it felt a little too on the nose. It just felt like it was obvious that we're looking up at her. It was obvious why it was being done. And it
Was this in
just,
the bedroom scene? Was this in
no,
the where she appears in the bedroom?
it was at the end in the courtroom when she was, not quite when it hadn't turned around yet, but when she was showing her powers once more in the courtroom scene. And then suddenly we're looking up at her and it's supposed to make us go like, oh, but at this point, we've seen her for 40 minutes. We know who she is. We know she's not 7 feet tall. It was right after this guy showed up the second time, Feklar. More on him in a moment. And like he's wearing a bra. And so there was just that felt, I don't know why that felt obvious and why it kind of stood out to me. But at that point, I'm like, we don't need that. We know who she is. But now, as far as the shuttle pod, it jumped out at me because I was like, that is the smallest, tiniest shuttle pod I've ever seen.
What was that?
Like usually they have like sleeping quarters, or they at least have like another room in the back, or a little engineering, or they have, something. They had a full-on wall right behind them. It was like they were driving a smart car, like a smart pod, right? Those smart things where it's just like,
That's
it's
what
just
I
a
felt.
two-seater. And behind them was a freaking carpet. So it's like, oh, you want to lie down? You got to move the shuttle pod vertically and just lie.
Yeah.
That was the tiniest thing. I'm like, was that a budget thing? What happened there?
I couldn't tell what that was either. I was like, why is there no background, no depth on this shot? It's like just flat right behind them. I'm thinking that must be the most uncomfortable. What was it, like a pickup truck?
Yeah.
Did it have like a flatbed in the
back? Yeah, and I have to assume it's a budgetary or a time thing or something where they're just like, they had all these other sets and all this makeup and all this. They're just like, we need a shuttle pod. Just put some cardboard. What about the back? Just put a carpet. Get 2 PAs to hold a carpet behind them, and they're just like,
and there were no electronic panels either. There was just all like styrofoam or just like carpet. It was not. There wasn't a piece of electronic equipment.
It was nothing. They were flying in a Tic Tac, is what it was.
That was the golf cart of shuttle pod.
Yeah, but it did look fun. Like I was like, damn, that'd be fun to ride in, like just this teeny tiny little thing. But like, if something happens, because in the past, like you see them in a shuttlecraft, and something happens, and they go, well, it's a long flight, take a nap, and they move their seat back, or they go back
Yeah,
in the
and they go in
sleeping
the back.
quarters,
There's a back section
or they go to
usually.
like the
Yes,
transporter sector of the thing. Nope, this is like, this is
this is
it.
it.
You sit down. If you want to lie down, you can lie down on the console. You can lie down in the computer.
You can lean forward like how
Yeah.
you do on the tray when you're
Yeah,
airplane.
or at school when you would go lean forward on your
Yeah, you can
desk.
see that.
Yeah, but that was an interesting shuttle
Yeah,
pod.
never seen that before, so that was unusual to me. Also, another shot that I don't know, I could not get over this too, and it was like it jumped out at me. I wondered if you had seen it too, but that was the scene where he was in his quarters and she appears, this Ardra character, and right behind him was these plants, and these plants were like so close to his head that I was thinking, what kind of bed is that you literally sleep at the base of these plants?
Yeah.
And I had never seen it before, so it just kind of jumped out at me. Weird set dressing, and the colors of it actually were emphasized as well. But so, what were you going
Yeah.
to show us?
Yeah. How do you know I was going to show? So I found the shuttle pod, but a better angle to
Uh,
see
uh,
what it's made up of. Look at that. And it is the shuttle pod Pike. So it's the two-seater with the carpet background. But
okay.
look, there's all this space back here. How do they access that space? Maybe it's supposed to like transport some stuff, but there's no like door that leads to the front or from the front to the back. Like, how do they access? That's weird. So it is like a
Yeah.
pickup, because it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like you can't go back there or access that stuff back there, but it does have
Yeah.
a little cargo payload, thing here. But anyway,
That's so crazy. I didn't realize it was that small. Like literally, the back of the chair is right up against that wall.
yeah. And then you could even get it as a toy with Data. That toy is almost bigger than the ship
well, the
itself.
toy opens up in the back. It looks like it has a latch right there. You see that?
Yeah, but they
It's
can't
almost like-
access it from the front. They have to park, go outside, come around, and then grab
and pull
the
that
stuff.
latch down.
Yeah. Picard's like, oh no, I
Yeah.
forgot my travel pillow. Now we have to park somewhere. Get out, go around and get your travel pillow and your what's that stuff? Your Dramamine, Picard. Jeez.
My travel pillow. There should be a little hatch on the inside where you can pull, kind
Yeah.
of dig in there.
You would expect it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's point out this Feklar guy because I mentioned it a bit. Did you notice he has a bra?
That's not Feklar.
Yeah. You are not Feklar. That was the perfect.
Yeah.
You knew Worf was going to say that. He was all,
Yeah.
no. But what is this guy wearing? This is like he's into bondage or something.
Hey, leave Klingons alone. That's what they want to fantasize about. That's their deal.
He's ripped. He's ripped.
That was a nasty looking alien right there. It looked scary. If you woke up and saw that, you would definitely be scared.
Well, I'd be scared that drool was gonna fall on my carpet. It'd be terrible.
Yeah. That was another, just like interesting take on this particular episode. You know what else jumped out at me too wasn't it an episode that we just saw? And oh, you know what? It was Kirk. It was Kirk in the Cat's Paw episode where that main villain in the Cat's Paw was trying to get Kirk to like her and started transfer. I could be this and I could be that, right? And kept kept switching into different characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought of when I saw this episode, and Ardra was doing the similar kind of routine, right? With
You're
Picard.
so right. Yeah, that was a good point. And what I was thinking of was the similarities between her and Q. Very, very similar. The playfulness, the wanting people to bow down to them or to want them, whether it's intellectual or romantic or whatever it is. They're like, they act like they can do anything, but for some reason they need you to recognize that they can do anything. And they try, like for her, she was dressing up differently. She was dressing up as different scary devil things. You know, she's trying to figure out what does it take to get these people to fear me or respect me or want me or give me that actual person to person power, more so than just like, you know, magic and whatever. And you know, with Q before, he was saying like, Riker, I can give you this. Wesley, I can make you an adult. You know, I can do this. So I kept thinking of those two and how similar they are, and the playfulness and, you know, kind of trying to mess with Picard a little bit. So it was, you know, a good point when they start off earlier, and I can't remember which officer it was, but somebody said, you know, what if this is Q? Or what if this is a member of, you know, what if this is a member of the Q continuum, or Q himself? Because it was, she was acting like him for all they know.
That was actually one of my favorite scenes as well. You talk about slice of life moments. For me, the other moments that I like are when they problem solve as a team.
Yeah.
You know, when one person has the solution, and it's like, you know, that's I think one of the knocks on, for example, Wesley Crusher earlier on, when it was just one guy who has the solution, and he's like, I know what it is. Maybe if we recalibrate it, and you're like, it's like it's so complicated that you're like, really, like you came
And
up with that.
Geordi and Data haven't even thought of it. They're like, wow,
Right.
thank you, 8-year-old. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. So, but when it's a combined effort to problem solve, that's when it's more realistic to me. That's when it feels like you're in the situation room, or in that room in the, you know, in the
Totally.
White House that makes decisions, and you're like, oh, this is what it would feel like. The general's sitting here, the other person sitting here, the president's here, everybody's talking about this is what we need to do, and they're saying, well, I don't think we should do this, we should probably do this, and another person's suggesting something different. And then you talk about consequences and results, and you weigh pros and cons of different scenarios. To me, that is what problem solving as a team, as a crew, is all about. And when I watch it in this particular episode, they finally gave me a slice of that, which is what I like really the most about Star Trek. That time they're in the room, and he's like, O'Brien could beam me out. You know, he could lock onto our coordinates and beam me out if there's any issues, and this and that. They had all these contingency plans set for the away mission, and they were trying to solve the problem together. Like the Q continuum issue came up, right? Like, well, what if he's a Q? What if this is a Q? And then, you know, what if this is Q? And then they started going through that rationale, and then the magician idea came up. You know, Troy sensed, I can't sense anything. This person's not able. I'm not able to read them. You know, them all talking about whatever they could bring to the table. That's problem solving as its best. That's when you have an all work together vibe on that crew, where everybody's working together, feels a part of the solution. That's the best Star Trek for me.
So a couple things there. One is, I think most Next Generation fans will tell you that's one of the things they love the most about Next Generation, is that, you know, original series didn't really do that because it was always Kirk, Spock, Bones, basically, you know. But then Next Generation, we love to see those scenes in the conference room, right? Where they're talking, and Geordi saying, what about this? And Data saying, what about that? And Riker saying, well, you know, what about this? And then Worf says, I have an idea, and they all shoot him down. Always, Worf is always wrong. Right? We should just fire him, fire our missiles at him, you know? And Mr. Wolf, shut the fuck up. And then those are always so great, though. But then, and that, you know, a lot of Star Trek fans will tell you that's what they love the most about Star Trek, and that feels very Star Trek to them. But you also brought up Counselor Troy, and she's the only one that, again, was kind of useless. What is her superpower? Sensing. Now, this time, they actually addressed it. She can't sense Ardra's true emotions because Ardra was very focused. So all you have to do is just really be focused, concentrate really hard, and then suddenly the empath is like, well, I can't break through this wall of concentration. So at some point, they're just going to be like, look, we don't know what to do with her. Can we make her just like a really good scientist or something, because we are not good with this reading minds thing. She can never read minds. And then the only time she can read minds is when she says something we already know. But everybody already knows it's time to hit our break. So let's jump to our break, and then we can just bash that a little bit more. But I still think it's a great episode, and I love it very much. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule of Sirach, the game changer Lofton.
Game changing.
What's the game? It doesn't matter. Whatever game. So here are the trivioids of the week. Everybody in the comments below, tell us, what game is Sirach the game changer of? This is exciting. Probably of Star Trek podcasting. Okay, here they are. Data plays Ebenezer Scrooge. Data is attempting to use performance to create emotional awareness. There's an emergency distress signal from Ventax 2. The people in Ventax 2 live in an agrarian society, at least they do now. First contact was made with the Ventaxians by a Klingon expedition 70 years ago. Ardra doesn't like these and thous. Ardra is Mendora to the Berusian cluster, Torak to the Drellians, and the Klingons call her Feklar, better than Feckless. Captain Picard thinks Ardra is a flim-flam artist. I think that's the second time we've heard the term flim-flam artist. And
What?
Captain Picard knows where the Zadrol Emerald is. What a relief. So, any final thoughts on Troy? The fact that her contribution was to say, like, all right, it's time to find out if this lady is a faker or if she's the real deal. And Troy's like, I wish I could help, but she's concentrating really hard. She's focused. So I'm just going to take this one off, take this week off.
Yeah. They miss opportunities all the time to really enhance Troy's storyline. This could have easily been fixed with a mythological kind of representation of what the Beta Z believe in. And that conflict of interest could have occurred if this Ardra character transformed into something that the Beta Z believe in, whatever their
That'd be fun.
religious mythology is, right? And that could have thrown her off, for example, right? Where she doesn't, she's been activated because of her own personal sentiments towards seeing this figure. So it would affect anybody, right? If you, whatever religion you are, if you were to see some kind of deity from that religion that was convincing to you of whatever your perception of that thing is,
That's a good point. What if she says, I sense deception from her, but, isn't that what you would expect from the devil, right? Deception. Or if she says, like what you're saying, we have a mythological, devil type character, and they are the god of deception or of trickery or something, you know what I mean? Like it could be, anything could be like that. So just put a little bit more effort into Marina Sirtis, because she's coming out there. She's trying to act her heart out.
No, it's not working.
And her job is either to say, I'm useless and it doesn't work, or here I can do my special power and I'm going to tell you something that you already know. The guy's like cussing out Picard. We're going to kill you in 5 seconds, Picard. And she goes, Picard, I sense he's angry. He's like, not now, counselor. Damn it. I know.
Yeah. And then the weird part is they used it in the past where she could sense somebody on the planet. Like Riker was on the planet's surface and they're in the ship and she's like, I think he's scared. And like, you can feel Riker a whole planet away, but you can't feel this person that's steady.
Well, not when he's focused.
Exactly.
Whatever that means.
So yeah, they don't know how to use it. But however, in her defense, she's doing what she can with whatever they're writing for her.
Totally.
And when she has the opportunity to play and be a little bit more playful for me, and like there was a small glimpse of that in this episode where this Ardra character transforms into Troy and starts flirting with the captain. That was Marina's opportunity to actually play with her acting skills and
Yeah.
and exercise her chops a little bit. So even though it's the stereotypical,
Yeah.
damsel who wants to capture the guy role,
It's
it's
still
still
outside of the norm that she's been doing for 100
yes,
episodes.
yes. It gives her a little bit of meat to chew on. So
Whoa,
so
Sirach
kudos.
Lofton.
Not
Relax. Chill out, man.
not that guy. I wanted to say wardrobe shout out to Bob Blackman. I don't know, is it Bob Blackman doing the wardrobe in this? Because I thought there was some good wardrobe choices, and I want to highlight those. For one, the character who plays the prime minister or president of the Vendaxian people or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Ventaxian. Accost Jared was his name, and he was
Yeah.
wearing a blue colored outfit, but they had a cheetah print type of colored on one side, and that it was like a blue and purple cheetah print on the fabric of this Accost Jared character. And I love that fabric. I don't know where they got that from, but it was unbelievably dope to me. I thought
I could
this
see
is a
you wearing
cool.
those as pants, to be
I
honest.
would wear it. I will wear it. I'm not gonna lie. You can put it together, a jacket, some shorts. I would wear it because it looked good to me. Like the
Yeah.
fabric was so unusual. You're like, I've never seen this before. So it was like a bluish purple cheetah print.
Mm-hmm.
Love the fabric. And then also Ardra had some really good costumes as well. So I wanted to just highlight uh, costume designer. Who was it? Was it Bob
Uh,
Blackman?
no, it was somebody else, but I just want to point out the costume department here. Let's pull up this one. I don't know, maybe a little less so. This was
Yeah. No, that was that you can
I
buy
mean the
at the
devil's pretty
Halloween
ripped,
shop.
but like yeah, this looks like, 13.99 at
What
the
is that? A set?
the
A
makeup
18
is
pack?
incredible. The makeup is amazing, but I mean, this is like you guys are on day 4 out of 5 and you're almost out of time and you just need to get something super quick. So you just get like a red, I don't even know. But our devil was the least scary, I think, of all. He was, I mean, I don't know. The
Yeah,
makeup, again, fantastic, but the costume ran out of time. This one's a really good shot too. Look at this. That's looks like probably the director here talking with Feklar, and that's got to be our boy Michael Westmore applying the makeup on Feklar there. Good behind the scenes shot.
oh wow. I
But
thought that
so
was something else. That's crazy.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the costume department costumer was Charles Evan Drayman. The key costumer was Philip Maldonado. Uh, and another costumer was Kimberly J. Thompson. Is there anybody
Hmm.
else
Okay.
doing anything with the costume? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Some a couple of nice choices. I do think I agree with you about our devil not being as scary as some of the other iterations that were
mhm.
transformed into. But
I wanted to point
costume
out,
wise, I like those. I like the black and green velvet dress that Ardra had towards the end with this kind of asymmetrical design and stiff collar. It looked really good. I mean, it was velvet and velour or whatever. It just looked amazing towards the
yes,
end of that episode.
totally agree. It looked sharp. It looked really sharp. And then I see all those, and then I see the devil and what this guy's wearing, where they're just like, just get some black tape on his chest. It's like
Yeah,
they were running low on time. The makeup knocked out of the park, but I
yeah.
agree with what she was wearing was fantastic. I did want to point out one thing, and I don't mean to be so negative, but I just point these out because I love. I always say, Geordi was the best at technobabble. I should say LeVar Burton in all of Star Trek, but the poor old guy, Dr. whatever, Dr. Clark,
Yeah.
I won't say that he didn't deliver the technobabble well, but I will say that I could tell that the actor struggled with it.
Yeah.
You can tell that the actor struggled with it because he had certain crutches, like when he had like 2 or 3 lines in a row, and he was using his hand of like the blah 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 with the blah 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 and the blah blah. You could tell that like
Yeah.
subconsciously he was doing that to help him get through this phrase and this phrase and this phrase. These are subtle things that tell you that like he worked really hard at memorizing these lines, and they don't exactly roll off the tongue. No knock against him, just saying you could see it.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's when
LeVar,
he was saying first contact was made by the Klingons, and Akos Jared is the
yeah,
Ventaxian head of state.
yeah, we'd
He's-
all be doing the same thing. We'd be doing whatever, like with our, like there's certain like hand movements
yeah,
that sometimes help
mannerisms
you
and stuff.
remember, and
Yeah,
in one scene in particular, he was using his hand in every
yeah.
thing, and at one
I
point,
saw it too, and I was like, poor guy has to. Like, come on, nobody knows about the Ventaxian, so he's thinking the Ventaxian.
and no
It's like,
70-year-old needs to be memorizing these kind of crazy words, man. But he did it, so shout out to him, and shout out to LeVar Burton. That was probably like, here's how I do it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
LeVar probably helped him out because LeVar is the best at it. I just wanted to give them both a shout out for their efforts.
yeah. But on a more positive note, I want to say that this Ardra actor character was pretty good, and I'll say because there's a level of confidence that you have to have in order to go up against um, Sir Patrick Stewart in a scene to be able to
Yeah.
match him energy wise, because he has a very big presence. Even when he decides to, for example, get serious on Riker, and he gets in his like I'm not playing around moment or mode. He shuts down Riker, he shuts down Worf. Everybody kind of has a way to like, okay, this guy, don't piss him off, because he has a command of the scene when he's in it if he wants to really assert himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that this actor who played Ardra also did an excellent job of having that same kind of presence, not the exact same level, but a presence that was formidable when she arrived on the scene for me. There was for example, when she said, "Oh, stop being so bowing. Don't bow down to me. If I want you to bow, I'll tell you." And then she goes over to Picard and says, "Oh, look at you. You stand up for yourself. I kind of like that, And so she's admiring the thing that she's doing in the scene, which is the bravado, the take charge, right? And she's admiring that same thing in Picard. So I'm just saying, I thought she did a fantastic job in that role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you there. So I'm still looking at more pictures of Feklar. Boy, he is quite the specimen, this guy. Look at this. And he has that like piece of drool hanging from him permanently. Got a better look at his.
Feklar remind me of just like
it's kind of like a full body, or I don't know what's going on down here. Oh, hair.
He's half Ewok.
Yeah. He walks in and he takes over. But that hair is teased to the gills, and so was
he
hers.
Listens to Kiss. He listens to Kiss.
When she was when Ardra was trying to seduce Picard, she teased her hair way out. And I know what he was thinking. He's like, well, for starters, you don't need to tease your hair way out if you're trying to to seduce me. Calm down, Poison. Calm down, Bon Jovi. Like, relax. But there was, honestly, I laughed a lot in this episode. I had a lot of fun. There was a lot of very good humor.
Yeah, I thought she was good. I thought she hit some things. She called Data my pale friend. The way she said it was hilarious to me. I was like, this woman is funny, takes charge. She said at the beginning, she says, "I like my men to be forceful, at least at the start."
Hey.
It was a beautiful line.
Yeah, there were a lot of lines. Like during the courtroom scene when Picard says, "Oh well, there's no proof that that was her that came in 1,000 years ago." And she goes sarcastically, "And I suppose you want 1,000-year-old witness?" And Picard wryly responds, "That would be acceptable." Tee hee. I'm like, okay, that's pretty
Yeah,
good, Picard. And
yeah,
there are a lot of these lines. Here's a couple more that I really liked. When Data was like, when they were doing the rumbling, and she says, uh, "Objection," and he says, "I think he deserves some leeway." Overruled. Like, and the faces he
yeah,
makes, and
yes.
he was even kind of smiling and laughing a little bit. Um, they were just a lot. Picard says, "It's all right, Mr. Worf. Will you beam me directly to my quarters?" When he was like showing up in his undies and such. And then Picard calls her. He says, before that, in his room, he says, "I find you obvious and vulgar." I was like, "Whoa, Picard. Woo! He is burning left and right." Oh man, there was just a lot of good humor between all of them. Like there were some cute moments.
It was some good moments. Even at the end, she's like, "I'll see you again." The way she left it, like I'm like, she's coming back for another episode or what?
I like that too, because
Yeah,
when they do that, it means they're saying like, let's see if we can bring her back, like as a Q character or a Harry Mudd character or a Gul Dukat character, somebody that we're going to see again at some point.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know. There was also that the Picard in his underwear getting beamed onto the thing or wherever. That was kind of funny. It reminded me of just like when he says, "Make sure you bring another uniform," and who says a uniform?
Yeah, Worf, always Worf, poor Worf.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so
Like,
what are we bringing?
yeah, don't worry about it, Worf. Go run into another force field. God, that poor guy. When Worf goes to try to take
Yeah,
her out and he runs into a force field, it's just like this poor guy he strikes out every time. Another funny line was uh when basically Picard won the courtroom thing and he's kind of thanking Data and he says, you saved these people, and he says, "Not to mention my immortal soul." I was like, oh, that's funny. He's like, man, I would have been stuck with that girl, man. Sounds
yeah.
scary. Oh, and then when Data says to her in the courtroom, he says, "The advocate will refrain from making her opponent disappear." I don't know. It's all just, these are funny.
They're funny. It was a funny episode to me. It had my attention from the beginning. Um, the claim that was made on the ship because the ship was in orbit. All of these little just unexpected turns here and there were great for me,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I enjoyed it. I also liked the debate or the argument that Picard was putting on because now Picard actually has to make a legal defense essentially to find a loophole or find a reason why this contract is not valid. And his legal defense was, and I thought well put, and you can tell when he feels like he's winning the argument. But when he starts to mention, how did you clean up your pollution, and how did
Beautiful.
your environment, and how did you remove, how did you achieve peace, and how when he talks about the government being formed and a constitution and all of these things coming together in order for it to happen.
That was perfect.
Um,
It was beautiful.
it was perfect. It was perfect. And he proves that this was done because of people's decisions to make it so, and not because of the will of one almighty powerful entity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is essentially um, what the episode talks about accountability on each and every one of us in our own lives, and not putting so much blame or emphasis on some imaginary thing, and put more emphasis on our own responsibility, our own
Mm-hmm.
actions, and what we can do to improve lives, or the world, or this, the creating good for the benefit of all. So I think that was one of the big takeaways for me, which is another hit home run message wise for me. Uh, in Star Trek. These are
Mhm.
the kinds of messages we want to walk away
Yeah,
feeling.
absolutely. It puts power back in the hands of the people and it empowers them. And he's basically showing them like, okay, at best, what this thing did, whatever it was that visited 1,000 years ago, was give you guys an excuse to clean up your act. But you did the work. You did it all. You're the ones that did
Mm-hmm.
it. You made the decisions. You figured it out. And the way Picard was being so sarcastic, he's like, "Oh, but I'm sure she stood on the council, right? Oh, didn't she do that? Oh, what? She didn't do anything."
She didn't throw one piece of trash or something like
Yeah,
that. Did he say it?
yeah, something like that. So that was all beautiful. That was
Yeah.
perfect. That was wonderful. Great message and delivered well. But I also thought, to her credit and to the writer's credit, she had the best argument until, of course, Picard reveals her as a fraud, which is why she was going to win when she basically made the point, hey, two sides signed a contract and both sides believe that the contract has been fulfilled. So what are you doing here? Bye. Basically, like, they signed, I signed, we both agree that it's fulfilled. What are we doing here? What are we talking about? But then, of course, Picard's like, oh, by the way, you're a fraud. Bye. See you later. So that all worked out well. But it's always a great writing, a great, well-written script when you see both sides and you see everybody. She's not just some generic villain that's like, otherwise it's not interesting until they make a good point. Then you start getting worried. Speaking of worry,
Yeah.
it's time for the home run of the episode. Sirach, who do you think gets the home run of today's episode?
I have a 2-part home run. I'm going to go for the guest star in this particular episode who played the Ardra character.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she really hit it out of the park, with the presence, with the performance, and equally so as well. I'm going to give it to Patrick Stewart. I thought he delivered a really great episode as Picard. I think it just hit all of the notes for me as far as reason and humor and playfulness and fun. It was a fun episode for me from beginning to end, and in large part because of him. So those are my two home runs for this particular one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you on both of those. I think it's Ardra and it's Patrick Stewart. If there are 6 of them, we'd call it the Shohei Ohtani Award.
Wow.
Magic.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely good episode all around, very memorable, and it's one of the first I remember. It really stands out. Speaking of stands out, here are some standouts that we would like to thank, and their names are as followed in alphabetical order: Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne Marie Seagull, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom. This is the Ventaxian alphabetical order. TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, and Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, aka Crewman Guy, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson out in Vegas, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Stern at the Wine Guy, Dylan Powell, Peter Draymore, Chris Garris, and of course, Jason M. Oken and Greg K. Wickstrom. All right, everybody, stick around. We are not done yet deconstructing this awesome episode. Got the free for all up next, and we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey everybody, welcome back to the 7th Rule with Sirach Frickin' Loft, and this is the free for all with Melissa Longo wearing her 7th Rule shirt.
Hello.
We also have Jason M. Oken, who's got extensive notes ready for today. We've got Eve England, who's got, oh, cool, isolinear chip sweatshirt, because it's getting a little chillier in Wales.
It is indeed.
TJ Jackson Bay is here ready to school us all. Carrie Schwent is going to talk about mystery and magic. or Magic and Mystery for those of you who watched the Gummy Bears cartoon back in the day. And the Dark Lord, Chris McGee, knows a little something about the dark arts. All right. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
I'm going to say an 8. I'm going to go on a straight 8. Straight 8.
Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know?
7.1.
7.6.
I'll go higher this time. 8.3.
8.1.
Wow, look at us. So Jason and TJ both said 8-1, if I remember. Oh, no, Jason said 7-1. TJ said 8-1. Okay, the correct answer is, of course, 7 Dikembe Mutombo 2. 7-2. Is that Joel Embiid, or is he? I think he's 7-2. Anyway,
Yeah, he's 7-2.
That's a pretty good score. Good guesses, guys. All right. Non-appearance mention. I got obviously Q. Was there another one? What do you got, Carrie?
Q.
Oh, okay. And all right, some kinds of or some sorts of the Dark Lord. What do you got for us, Chris? What?
We got 3. Riker, while the crew was discussing Ardra's magic during their conference, said she must be tapping into some sort of power source to produce these effects. Then Picard, later on, speculating on how the Ardra myth started, said, or maybe there was an Ardra of some sort who is the basis for this mythology. Who knows?
Very good.
And
That's
finally,
a great one.
Worf, while attempting unsuccessfully to beam Picard back from the planet after Ardra sent him there in his pajamas, said, some sort of interference. Checking.
Excellent. All right. Melissa Longo, get us started off on the right track. Cleanse that palate from thinking about Picard in his PJs. What do you think of this episode? Did you like it?
Yeah, it made me think of that moment when Ardra as Troy was running her finger down Picard's chest. It was so silly. it was a fun episode, though. I mean, I think that I have to say Marta Dubois did a wonderful job as Ardra. And fun fact or fun tidbit is that she's from Panama, just like my mom.
What?
Is from Panama. Yeah. So I thought that was fun. And but yeah, overall I enjoyed the episode. It was fun. But the thing that stood out to me most in this episode were the costumes. Holy mackerel. The costumes were off the chain. Ah, so good. I want to wear this one and the other one that she was wearing and figure out those earrings because she had some wonderful earrings through the whole episode. Yeah. And then even the people on the planet, their costumes were great. And yeah, costuming was phenomenal in this. I'll leave it at that.
Sirach agrees wholeheartedly. He brought that up for sure. Great stuff. You know who I could see in the outfit, actually getting the outfit and wearing it behind you, is Dr. Susan V. Gruner. She would rock that thing so hard. All right. So would Jason M. Oken, by the way. He'd be in a bidding war with Sue. What do you think of this episode?
Well, what makes you think I don't already have that?
Let's see it, Jason.
That's in the next segment. Now, I mean, this is a lighthearted episode. It's not really to me. It's almost like Who Watchers the Watchers light. It's certainly fun to watch. It's nice visually. It's not terribly deep. I think Ron Jones's music stands out. It's not as overpowering as in some of the other episodes, but I think it's still there. It's very nice. Again, we talked about the costumes. I think they stand out as well. Performance, I do like Patrick Stewart's performance here very much. It's once again very nuanced. It goes from scene to scene, and certainly in Brent's performance as well. Again, it's a lighthearted episode. It's, just leave your brain at the door, relax, and enjoy. And there's obviously more to say.
Leave your brain at the door, everybody. That's good for a lot of movies, too. Thank you very much, Jason M. Oken. Eve England is out in Wales. She has never left her brain anywhere but in her cranium where it belongs. But what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, it was, I mean, like I said, I seem to have lots of inconsistencies and things if you actually thought about it. But I think overall it was just fun. The music was great. And I loved how they gave Audra that kind of her own little pixie theme. That was cute. I mean, yeah, I was kind of originally, when it started off with the Christmas Carol scene, I was kind of expecting it to go somewhere else. So I was surprised, we had all these references to, beer and, selling souls to devils and things like that. But it wasn't really about that because we found out so early that she was this con artist. Now, I think to me, I either would have liked them to have maybe taken a bit longer to work that out, or actually that Captain Obvious had actually worked it out. I was just thinking she should have known that she was a con artist. I just think by her feelings, but that's, that we've come to expect that. What I thought was quite interesting at the end, I think this is probably just the lawyer brain, but I thought it was quite odd that they, I was wondering whether the planet was still actually contractually bound by their original contract, because the real Audra presumably might come back. So this other one was, she was never party to that contract. So she couldn't really invalidate that contract because she was never party to it. So I thought that was interesting, and it'd be interesting to see a sort of sequel where they do actually get attacked by the real Audra. So I'd like to see that sequel. And my final comment is, I just do not think it was believable that Picard would choose pajamas like that.
What kind of pajamas would he choose?
Well, it just seemed so uptight. They just seemed far too freeing than I think you'd expect.
Have you not seen him on Ryza?
Yeah, he wears a bodysuit.
But that's the thing. I just don't think his character, would choose that sort of underwear and nightwear. So that's just.
You're hoping to see him in something else. Well, Eve, before we let you go, as an attorney, that reminds me. I had a thought when they said in the contract that everybody on the planet and in orbit are bound by the contract. But my first thought was the people of the Enterprise did not sign this contract. Like, theoretically, Ardra signed it. The people of the planet signed it. But if somebody flies in and they say, we now have jurisdiction over you because of this contract, I'd be like, okay, bye. I'm just going to leave, right? They don't have any jurisdiction over them, right? Or any claim.
No, they had some weird laws, but I mean, contractually, that wouldn't work with us. I don't know whether that works anywhere else, maybe in the universe, possibly. But a bit odd.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Eve England out in Wales. TJ Jackson Bay is here, and he found like 40 holes in that contract. But what did you think of this one?
Yeah, that is interesting, that contract, because actually, even if she was the real Audra, all the people on the planet that were alive 1,000 years ago are not alive now. So no one on the planet has agreed to this. Only by their belief did they agree about it. So that's one thing. It's interesting. I picked up on some of what Eve picked up as well, and it makes me want to kind of push off of what Jason said about the episode not being too terribly deep, because I did have some deep thoughts about it, but that's me because I always do that. And I was thinking about, the theme that's said in the beginning, like Eve was mentioning, with the fear and the supernatural, and even when the reality of that supposed supernatural thing is in doubt, the fear still exists. So Data, playing Scrooge, was still afraid, even though he didn't believe the apparition was actually anything other than something in his stomach, which I thought that he did a pretty good performance on that. Speaking of good performances, I thought Paul Lambert as Dr. Clark did an excellent job setting up the conflict in this episode. When he gets beamed aboard the Enterprise, and he's explaining, what's going on, why, this planet is flipping its stuff and going nuts about this Audra character. who they have yet to meet. I thought he did a good job of really, being perplexed and portraying, his disbelief that this is even happening. But also, letting Captain Picard know what he's about to walk into approaching this planet and trying to get these people free. So I thought that was interesting. I got a lot more to say, but I'll leave most of that behind. But I will end with a quote just for Melissa, since she was thinking about part of this scene. And it's when Audra says, "I could give you a night that will light fire in your dreams till you die."
Spicy. Thanks very much, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear, is here. She likes to play with fire too. What do you think of this episode?
I had to stop myself from doing a Beavis impression. Going fire, fire. Anyway, I digress.
Just did it.
Yeah,
Silly Beavis. What you gonna do? I love this episode. It is just tons of fun. I love that they changed like the bad guy to a woman. There are far too few episodes where the bad guy is a woman. And I love I love Marta in it. She has got just charisma for days. Apparently she auditioned for several roles over the course of the seasons for things, but the producers were never able to find a good fit for her.
I bet Vash would have been one for her, right? She seemed very much like that.
Yeah.
That's actually speaking of which, her vibe as Ardra was definitely made me think of what if Vash had the powers of a cube. She would absolutely be acting like this woman, going from planet to planet, using her cube powers for bad. So yeah, we're definitely sharing the same brain on that. And like Melissa, I loved her hair, her wardrobe, in particular the outfit she wears in Picard's bedroom. Anybody who has seen the first Ghostbusters immediately compares her to Sigourney Weaver as Zool in that outfit when Beckman comes over and she asks if Beckman's the Keymaster.
I got that same
hair,
vibe.
similar flowy dress. Yeah, loved her. And as you can see behind me, Ardra is not the only person who has made something very, very large disappear. In 1983, David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear in one of his many, many specials over the years, where he made various other large things disappear. There was a train car, I think, from the Orient Express at one point, some big, large airplane later on in a different one. He also has fantastic charisma on stage. He captures your attention and keeps it. And is very good at keeping it. We have seen the actor that plays Dr. Clark, the scientist, before. Back in season 1, the episode When the Bow Breaks, the older guy that was teaching the little girl how to play that musical instrument. That's the same actor. Oh. I think he's adorable. Now, Q has definitely been rubbing off on Picard, whether he knows it or not. The way he snapped is exactly like Q. The first time we did it, I'm like, oh, yep. You never know what stuff from other people are going to rub off on you unconsciously until you start doing it. Before I get to my limerick, Data's face when Picard became Feklar and he was like, oh, absolutely just brings me joy. It's one of those you just back up over and over just to watch his face, because he was clearly having a lot of fun watching Picard work the magic. Now, because I love Ardra, naturally, I decided that the limerick should be from her point of view, so I will end there. This was a score I should have resisted. Everyone else believed in my visit. Picard proved I was fake. I could not make my escape. How things went, I could not have predicted.
We could have predicted a fun limerick from you, though. Thank you very much. Carrie Schwent, a.k.a. Crafty Bear. All right. the Dark Lord, aka Feklar, today is here. What did you think? By the way, he says, give Ardra my number, but we'll leave that to our Zoom chat. We won't say why. What do you think of this episode?
Oh, did I forget to change my name tag? Whoops! I better change it back. I mustn't let anyone know my true identity. Oh, I said that out loud, didn't I? Oh well. This is another one of my favorites, mostly because it was a rerun many times on TV. As such, I've probably seen it more than most other episodes in the series. And the fact that it has some courtroom drama in it, similar to The Measure of a Man, doesn't hurt. I agree with Jason that once again we get a fantastic, memorable score by Ron Jones, especially Ardra's theme. I also agree completely with Melissa that the wardrobe department did an amazing job. I really like Ardra's outfits in this episode, especially her earrings with that partial circle motif. I'm sure there's a name for it, but anyway, minor pedantic tangent here. The quote, "There's a sucker born every minute." Probably everyone knows this by now, and I apologize if I'm repeating something you already know. But while it's widely attributed to P.T. Barnum, was likely not spoken by him. There's no evidence that the word sucker was ever used in the derogatory sense in his day. The actual origins of the phrase are still widely debated. So that's pretty much all I wanted to bring up here. Everyone else already said everything I was going to say, so I'll jump to my memorable quote for the episode, which, you know, it was going to be something obvious like, "Humbug, I tell you, humbug." But actually, I picked a new one this time watching it, that's something I had not picked up on before, which I think it's from Ardra, and I think it's surprisingly deep for her. And she says, "We live in a universe of magic, which evidently you cannot see."
Just want to point out that Feklar is saying that we're all suckers to believe that P.T. Barnum said suckers. Sucker.
I'm going to get you, sucker. All right. Thank you very much for that, Feklar. All right. What happened, Melissa?
Wow.
All right, Jake's final take. Sirach, any final thoughts on this episode?
Well, I'm in agreement with Eve about Picard's sleepwear. It just doesn't. I just don't buy that particular pajama set. It has a wraparound tie, a tie at the waist type thing. I don't see him tying at the waist and stuff on his way to bed. But anyways, I digress. I'm gonna double down on what I've heard about the wardrobe. Love the wardrobe. I think that Akash Jared's wardrobe, who was like the leader of the Ventaxian people, he had this kind of really cool blue and purple cheetah print kind of wraparound sash type thing that was like super awesome.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I was like, wow, where do I get one of those? I love it. So yeah, I just thought the fabric choices and the cut and colors were just beautiful. Also with Ardra's dress at the end, that one that's behind Melissa with the kind of two-tone, like velour type of feel to it. Just love that dress. Want to tie back what DJ said about the intro. We've seen this now as another kind of a Star Trek type theme, which is the intro ties in to the main storyline in some way, whichever ways that they try to do it, even though it looks like it's a separate thing when you're watching the Ebenezer Scrooge kind of performance. They're secretly telling you what this episode is also about in some type of way. They mentioned method acting and acting in general, and we see that Ardra is the main actor in this particular script here, with all of the accoutrements to make it believable. The other thing is that Tom Banco, the director, also directed Transfigurations, and Transfigurations has a similarity to this episode in that in Transfigurations, there was this character that was evolving into a godlike character that was being chased away by his people. And in this one, the people are embracing this godlike character. and it's kind of the exact opposite of storyline wise in some way or another. So I thought that's interesting that they brought Tom Benko to direct these very similar type episodes. And then the last thing I'm going to say is they mentioned the Ventaxian people made first contact with the Klingons, and I was like, boy, that's not the race that you want first contact. I was like, please, no, don't just show up in my bedroom like, hey, we're here. Wow, I'm like, all right, okay. Yeah, I'd take the Federation over the Klingon all day on first contacts. We're concerned.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you very much, Sirach Lofton, for Jake's final take. All right, and thank you very much to the Dark Lord Chris McGee, aka Feklar, Carrie Schwent, TJ, Eve, Jason, Melissa, for myself, Sirach Lofton, Melissa Longo, and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Always raise a glass of root beer to Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much for joining us. And until next time, always remember the seventh rule.